Hi guys, welcome to the show. My name is Seb Ostrovich, aka the voice of the people, and this is the Weightlifting House podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Weightlifting House news show. We are just 2 days away now from the 1 year anniversary of the first ever Weightlifting House podcast episode. I can remember the first ever episode. I was in my kitchen, a place I very quickly realised was not a good place to do a podcast, as you can actually hear my housemate George in the background washing up his plates and his cutlery. And I was sat at the table with Glenn and my friend Leah, and we just decided to go for it. I clicked record, and quite frankly, I have no real memory of how I began, but I remember being a little bit nervous and conscious to some extent of what I was saying. And now it just feels fluent. It's amazing what's happened over a year. A lot has changed, and in fact, I literally just spoke to Glenn. I recorded a podcast with Glenn, the People's Coach, about 2 hours ago, where we spoke about the last year. You know, the amount that has changed, what we've been able to achieve, and what we're going to kind of continue to aim for, I suppose, in the coming years. We both have big goals, and maybe even too big. But I find that ever since I listened to the podcast with John Bros and Travis Mash, I've been obsessed with the quote that Bros said. It was something like, "Shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you'll end up on the top of a mountain." I think originally it was actually, "Shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you'll end up amongst the stars." But I kind of prefer it as "on the top of a mountain." So essentially, set your goals big, ones that you may never be able to achieve, and just go for them. Anything less is probably selling yourself short. So I have a lot of crazy goals, and who knows what will happen, but I can tell you that I have achieved more in the last 365 days than probably any other 365 day stretch of my life. So next I have something that I want to mention again is, the Weightlifting House barbells, which, people are really happy about the specs of the bar, 210,000 PSI, 10 needle bearing bars, but I think more than that, it's actually the fact that you've kind of gotten to know me and Glenn, I guess, through the podcast, and ultimately just the fact that, all of this is coming from nothing other than just to impact the weightlifting community in a way that is, I guess, somewhat comparable to the way that I feel I have been impacted by weightlifting. And I think just that kind of relationship of, you guys know who I am, you know what I'm trying to build, you know what I want to kind of do in my life, and so I appreciate people who have bought barbells, and I realise that to some extent you are buying into Weightlifting House as an idea and as a brand that will hopefully continue to grow over the coming years. So as I've said many times, if you want a barbell, head over to weightliftinghouse.com and you get 10% off all bars during the pre-order launch period, which is I think we've only got a week left of this 10% off. So if you're interested and you want one, head over there. If you're not sure, drop me an email at contact@weightliftinghouse.com. Lastly, before I get underway with all of this stuff, all of the news, I found out that the virus code is Europe only. I can't believe it. So if you're in Europe, I think that this is one of the only discount codes available. I don't actually know of any others. And I guess it actually might be more helpful than the code being worldwide, because there are already so many discount codes in the USA. So if you are in Europe, there is now a Virus Europe store, and there is my discount code, Weightlifting House, all one word, all lowercase, for 10% off all virus goods. I got a couple of pairs of tights for my birthday last week, and I realised as I wore them into the CrossFit gym where I train and coach weightlifters out of, that no man, at least in CrossFit in the UK, it seems to me, wears tights. So when I trained at the university a few years ago, everyone would wear tights, but now that I'm at a CrossFit gym, everyone still wears board shorts, and so it left me kind of feeling very exposed, and I don't know, I feel determined to change the mindset of the men at the gym, one pair of tights at a time, which is a phrase I never thought I would hear myself say. So anyway, that's basically the update on the virus code. If you're in the USA, you cannot use it, but if you're in Europe, you can use it. So Weightlifting House, all one word, all lowercase, for 10% off all clothes. Okay, enough with the tights and the bars. Let us talk about the great lifting that has been occurring all around the world this last week. We have actually got some really great videos, including unofficial world records and returns actually of world record setting giants. I am pumped to go on with this episode because it is a very high quality one. Let's start with world records. Okay, so as I'm sure you're all aware of by this point, if someone hits a national record at a national competition, then it counts. But if they set a world record at a national meet, it doesn't count. It has to be an international meet for you to be able to set a world record. It is for this reason that you actually see sometimes national records equal to or even beyond world records. A good example of this would be Tian Tao, who clean and jerked 221 kilos at Chinese Nationals in 2017, a kilo over Rostami's world record. Events like this they've happened multiple times, and you can see them occasionally with different countries where the national record is above the world record. And this exact thing just happened at Chinese Nationals with Shi Ziyong, the 69 kilo lifter and reigning Olympic champion, who just went 163-197 to set a new national total record and an unofficial total world record. Neither of these lifts on their own are unofficial world records in their own right, though we have seen Shi Ziyong clean and jerk over 200 kilos in training before. In fact, his teammate Lao Hui still holds these records individually at 168 and 198 and the total world record of 359, but it was unofficially broken by Shi Ziyong just a few days ago. So Lao Hui still may hold all three world records, but strangely he has lost the national total record. Should Shi Ziyong have made this total international competition, he would become the highest lifter by Sinclair since 2000, placing 18th of all time. Moving on to some of the more mammoth lifts, we have Jiří Orsag, the super heavyweight from the Czech Republic, the two-time Olympian and 8th place finisher from Rio. Jiří, whose competition bests are 195, 245, he just cleaned 250 kilos off blocks. 15 kilos under the heaviest ever block clean on camera, which is the 265 kilo block clean by the Iranian super Badur Moulay. Now, speaking of Badur, I believe he is now officially retired from the sport of weightlifting, which, it is a great loss to the sport. He was an absolute tank. He cleaned and jerked 260 kilos in training. He was, in many people's eyes, potentially the next world record holder in the clean and jerk. But as I'm sure some of you know, just before Rio, he was injured in a car crash that killed his father and grandfather. A devastating situation for Badur Moulay, and one that, quite fairly, has caused a dramatic change to his life. Okay, so let's do a little section from Mash Elite, because Travis's team has been completely on fire recently. Also, whilst we're on the topic of Travis, I'm actually going on his podcast in a few days, which has been a huge goal of mine for a while, and one that I'm very excited for. So anyway, over at Mash Elite, we had Morgan McCullough, the 14-year-old, making men all across the world weep with his new PRs, just so strong as the 14-year-old Morgan. I'm just going to rattle through them as there were so many that he hit. So 14 years old, a 125 kilo PR snatch, 162 kilo PR clean and jerk, 165 kilo PR clean, and a 235 kilo back squat PR, which is just ridiculous. He also hit a 210 kilo PR front squat, but I can't remember if that was last week, as in the week before, and I've already mentioned it or not. But, 4 real PRs, snatch, clean and jerk, clean and back squat, all in 1 week. Just phenomenal lifting from him. Next, the 94 kilo lifter and world team member Nathan Damron cleaned 200 kilos for a double off the blocks. I think Nathan is generally a little bit better off blocks. In fact, I feel like I have a vague memory of him cleaning 210 kilos off the blocks once, which is a few kilos better than his best clean from the floor. But anyway, 200 kilos for 2 is huge by American standards. In fact, I don't believe that there is any 94 in the USA who is capable of that. Nathan also snatched 155 kilos with, terrifying ease, as he trained alongside the Mash Elite satellite lifter, one of my favourite up-and-comers, 85 kilo lifter Jordan Cantrell, who, after training a few times at the closer team of Cal Strength, flew over to Mash Elite to prep for the upcoming Pan Am Games. Jordan has looked terrific in the last, only really 4 weeks. He kind of disappeared for a month or so after failing to make the world team, or at least he made the world team. He just was a reserve, so he never actually got to compete. But he most recently snatched 155 kilos the same day in the same session as Nathan. But the great question really with the 85s and Jordan Cantrell is who is going to win? Jordan Cantrell or Harrison Maris? And as I commented on Reddit Weightlifting, as I very occasionally do, I think Jordan has a better chance in the snatch than Harrison, having made 161 in competition compared with Harrison's 155. But he has less of a chance in the clean and jerk, with 191 kilos versus Harrison's 200 kilos. But here is where it gets interesting, because Jordan Cantrell has freaky, and I mean really freaky, overhead strength. In fact, just last week he jerked 206 kilos, more than Harrison has ever done, and 3 kilos over the American record of 203 kilos held by Kendrick Farris. So I think that before the weight classes change, we're going to see a few attacks on national records, as athletes kind of attempt to solidify their position in history. I think that Jordan is maybe capable of 167 on the snatch for a new American record, and I think almost certainly that Harrison is definitely capable of 204 kilos in the clean and jerk for a new record. But just the fact that Jordan was able to jerk 206 kilos off the blocks kind of shows just what an absolute excess in strength he has overhead, and that if he's able to clean it, he's probably going to jerk it. I don't actually recall any lift ever where Jordan Cantrell misses a jerk. But Harrison did look phenomenal this week as well. It's actually amazing watching the two of them. Harrison is a lifter who, I think all things considered, age, movement, strength, progress, has the greatest chance of being the number one ranked male in 2 years heading into the Olympics. He's 17 and he's already a world bronze medalist, which no other male lifter is in the USA. This week he snatched 150 and then 155 kilos, and he also clean and jerked 200 kilos again, clearly with room to spare. And as I routinely mention, it is often the person with the worst snatch and the better clean and jerk who wins, because they get the final attempt to win. They get to decide what they put on the bar in the clean and jerk to win the competition. And so I think Harrison will beat Cantrell at Pan Ams. This 155-200 they did in training is a 4 kilo training PR for Harrison. And looking at it, it has to be below his true maximums. Harrison also went on last week to hit a PR back squat, I think by about 20 kilos, although he didn't actually say what it was before. As far as I can remember, he had a PR back squat previously of 255 kilos, and he just hit 275 kilos. So clearly the added body weight is treating Harrison incredibly well as he moves up from the 77s to the 85. He really is a generational type athlete. He is one that has the talent to almost single-handedly bring the USA back into the spotlight in weightlifting. Next we have the Russian gorilla, the now retired Vasily Polovnikov, who showed us that he was still strong, or still is strong, with a few doubles in the snatch at 170 kilos. It's interesting because when you watch Vasily, you wonder how he made it through the Russian system, all the many layers of the Russian system with technique. I don't want to be mean, but with technique as horrible as his. But what many of you probably don't know is that actually if you watch him from like 10 years ago, if you watch him as a junior lifter, he actually looks great. His technique is wonderful, but he injured himself so many times that he lost mobility and along with that somehow technique also. So last week, I essentially, on the podcast, told Aishiro Murakami, the Japanese super who's been repping 340 kilos out in the squat, I told him that it was time to start pushing the actual lifts. And, well, I guess he must have been listening because he did just that this week. He snatched 180 kilos, missing 185 kilos behind in a crazy, terrifying attempt. I believe his best ever in the snatch is 186 kilos. He then went up and clean and jerked a pretty difficult-looking 220 kilos, which, it definitely goes to show that as elite as he is, it shows that the squat clearly isn't everything. It's a lot, but it isn't everything. There are people who squat a lot less and clean jerk a lot more than Aishiro Murakami. Next we have CJ Cummings, who has moved from the 5 triples in the snatch that we've seen him do a lot recently to 4 doubles, slowly upping the weight as we approach Pan Ams, a competition where he is likely to medal if he lifts well. Previously, CJ's been doing triples at 130 kilos, over 90% of his best single of 143. This week he did 4 doubles at 135 kilos, just 8 kilos under his best, and amazingly he only missed 1 rep out of the 8. CJ has been progressing in the snatch a lot quicker than he has been progressing in the clean and jerk, which hasn't always been the case for him. He's generally had a much better clean and jerk, and I think he's still able to pull out a showstopper in the clean and jerk, but at the moment it's the snatch that is really going well, and I can definitely see him hitting a new American record of 144 at the Pan Ams. He also clean and jerked a bunch of singles at 170 kilos in training, but he missed 175 kilos, 10 kilos under his best, on his last attempt, which just kind of goes to show that he isn't immortal and that even CJ can have an off day in training. Okay, time to catch up on the Ilian comeback. This week, like I said he would do last week, he put another 5 kilos on his snatch and is now back up to 160 kilos. He also clean and jerked 195 kilos, and very impressively, which is something that I did predict, not that it was a difficult thing to predict at all, knowing that Ilian is so incredibly strong in the front squat, but he upped his front squat again by about 10 kilos this week, hitting 230 kilos, still around 70 kilos under his best, but you can definitely see very easily that week by week he's adding serious totals, or serious kilos to his total. Evangelia Veli, the Albanian, I believe 58 kilo lifter, put up some big numbers this week. She cleaned 112 kilos for a triple off blocks. Of course, this is still some way off the world record of 142 kilos by Kuo Sing Chun from the Chinese Taipei, but the speed and ease of these lifts, the 112 for a triple, was very impressive. Ali Mendez, the Chilean 85, back on the show, making probably one of the longest week-to-week runs on the Weightlifting House news show in history. This week, Ali hit what I believe is his heaviest snatch to date at 177 kilos. He has a goal, or at least a short-term goal, of 180 kilos, and so is now only 3 kilos off. He also, in the same training session, hit 205 kilos in the clean and jerk. Altogether, this total is actually 7 kilos more than his World Championship setting performance from Anaheim, but still 14 kilos behind Rostami's Olympic winning and world record total of 396 kilos. Giangelo Osorio competed at University Nationals this week, which he of course won. He snatched 155 kilos and clean and jerked 205 kilos, 10 kilos off his competition best in the clean and jerk, which he did around a year ago, and 10 kilos off his best in the snatch of 165 kilos, which he did, I believe, in 2015. Which I think when he did it, he only weighed 100 kilos as well. This total is definitely noteworthy, especially as it is during his comeback, though it is also worth noting that the snatch, as impressive as the total in the clean and jerk is, the snatch is still 20 kilos off what Wes Kitts hit at Worlds in December. Dadas Dadashvili, the 21-year-old Azerbaijani 105, just hit a 200-kilo power clean and jerk. The speed that Dadashvili has under the bar in the power clean, it rivals and probably beats that of any current 105 lifter, except maybe Ilya. I suppose we don't know what weight class he is at the moment. And despite it looking like he doesn't pull the bar that high, he's so fast under that he ends up catching it extremely high. The bar has no chance to decelerate and start moving back down. He's almost under the bar before the bar has even peaked, which makes the lift look very effortless and smooth. In the past, we've seen Dadashvili snatch 191 and clean and jerk 230 kilos. Okay, now for some super heavyweight news, sorry. The first is that Bedad Salimi from Iran, the 2012 Olympic champion and 2-time snatch world record holder, is back posting, not videos, but at least one video. Hopefully he's going to start posting more videos. Possibly in an attempt to fix his soft elbows, which is an issue that has cost him from medaling at several international competitions now. Salimi posted a video of a 225 kilo clean plus 2 power jerks. The clean looks like a piece of cake and the jerks are very, very easy. Great height on them and a perfect lockout. But it's just so rare that we see anyone, I guess you can kind of say, playing around with or doing complexes with weights as heavy as 225 kilos. He could have power cleaned it comfortably, and then to be power jerking that weight, your second choice attempt at getting the bar overhead, especially doing it for a double after. It's just sensational to watch. And number 2, sticking with the supers, we have, and sticking with super heavyweights doing jerks, we have Fernando Reis. As if almost spurred on by Salimi's 225 kilos, he hit, just a day later, a 240 kilo split jerk double for a huge PR. I believe his best clean and jerk is 245 kilos, so this 240 double really says great things about his training at the moment. And I hate to kind of spoil the party for Fernando Reis, but I wanted to mention this because I was reminded by it when I saw a thread online. There is a video of there's a YouTube video of Andre Aromnau, the 105, split jerking 240 kilos for a double as well. Like I said, only weighing 105, not 150. There's also a video of Aromnau doing, I want to say it's 240, it could even be 245, doing a behind the neck power jerk triple. I mean, basically a snatch grip, but still a triple with 240 plus in the power jerk. And I guess that is why Aromnau is a legend and Fernando Reis is not yet quite of legendary status. Cyril Fajat, the British 94, managed to snatch 157 kilos for an easy win at the University Nationals. He opened at 140 kilos to secure the easy win before taking big jumps up to 157 kilos. Now, this 157 is more than any 94 in the UK has hit in competition in years, I think. I don't remember seeing anyone do that much weight in competition as a 94 kilo lifter, so that's really awesome to see from him. I believe he then experienced some kind of pain in his leg and wasn't able to put forward at least a big clean and jerk. I think he still hit something light enough to win, but he wasn't able to attack anything above 190 kilos. Last week I mentioned Colin Burns power cleaning 175 kilos for a double, and I noted how impressive it was. This week he power clean and jerked 180 kilos for what looked like a slightly sub-maximal lift, but something that he said that he hadn't touched in years in terms of a power clean at least. Just unbelievable amounts of pull from Colin. He has such a huge pull. He's always been able to pull the bar extremely high when he cleans. It's just the standing up, it's just the squatting that he struggled with more than anything else. Brian Racenow, the US 56 kilo lifter, hit a PR back squat after what seems like, it really seems like months and months of him squatting sets of 10s, 5s, and 3s, and slowly creeping up, hitting rep PRs and all of that stuff. He finally tested it. He went for a 1RM, and he hit a 190 kilo single, which, this is so amazing. It is only 34 kilos off a 4 times bodyweight squat. Just let that sink in. He's 56 kilos, so triple is what, 168 kilos would be triple body weight, and he hit 190. I think he can do 168 for more than a set of 5. I'm fairly sure I've seen him do around 170 for 5. It really is sensational leg strength for an athlete. Okay, and last but not least, back to Egypt with one of the most, probably one of the most liked weightlifters in the world, most likely because he is so openly emotional and passionate about the sport. The 77 kilo lifter, Mohamed Ehab. Ehab power snatched 145 kilos this week in training pretty comfortably. We've seen him do 150 kilos in the power snatch before. And more impressively, I think, at least for him, he managed to squat 250 kilos for a double, which, like I said, for him and I guess for most people is exceptionally impressive. But Ehab has never really had the squat that some of his 77 kilo rivals have had. People like Liu Xiaojun and Rahimov, who both squat near 300 kilos. Okay, and lastly, the final segment of the show, the people's lifts. My favourite lifts that I've seen from the people of weightlifting, people like me who just are training hard, trying to reach a high level in weightlifting, but are not quite yet on the international platform. So I've scrolled through Instagram over the last few days, and I found the lifts that I want to mention. Some of them are from very good lifters, actually, and some are from lifters who are still on their journey. Everyone's still on the journey, but some of them are, actually pretty freaking impressive lifters. But we're going to start off, I've got how many lifters? 6 lifters to get through. So we're going to start off with, on Instagram, the name is Mediocre Lifter, which I feel like you're just setting yourself up to fail, aren't you, if you call yourself Mediocre Lifter. But anyway, Nick Munro, he hit a 145 kilo PR squat triple, which it was awesome. There's clearly a little bit left in the tank, which it just kind of reminded me of the time when I was squatting 145 for a triple. And I mean, to be honest, that still feels pretty heavy for me these days. But it's just an exciting time. You've still got so much more to do, but you're still able to make gains every few weeks, every month. It's a nice time to be training, and you can tell that Nick Monroe trains at Spencer Mormon's gym, not because you can see Spence spotting him, but just because he's doing a heavy triple. And it seems like every video that Spencer Mormon puts out now is either a set of 5 in the snatch or a heavy triple in the back squat. But anyway, you can follow Nick Monroe at Mediocre Lifter. Next, I want to give a shout out to my friend Ed Smale, who I train with. He's a freak. He is an 85 kilo lifter, and he just went 106, 132 at University Nationals this last weekend. But the amazing thing is he's only been in the sport for around, I want to say 8 months, maybe 9 months. I don't know. Ed will correct me on that if I get it wrong. He used to do CrossFit before, a bit of rugby, but now he's just a weightlifter. He's crazy strong. Front squats like 190, maybe 191, something like that. He cleaned 140 for 5 off the blocks. Just definitely worth a follow because his progress has been worrying for me over the last few months. Okay, so here's a big one that I was really impressed with. Jane B from the Raw Barbell Club. Shout out to their podcast, the Raw Barbell Podcast. Jane hit a huge snatch balance at 90 kilos. A really big lift for her, and to be honest, a really big lift for any woman who's not on an international stage. Crazy strong overhead. She sits down to balance for 3 or 4 seconds, and then slowly comes back up. Kind of reminded me of one of those Lu Xiaojun snatches, where he catches it and he's kind of rock solid, but he just stands up so incredibly slowly because he just wants to leave no doubt that he's going to get up with it and not lose it. Kind of reminded me with that. But you can, in fact, I don't know her Instagram handle. I should have looked that up. You can find her on the Raw Barbell Club Instagram. I'm going to go on really quickly whilst I'm just talking about this. I know I should have edited this better or something like that, but sometimes I get things wrong. So here we are, Raw Barbell Club. That's their Instagram. That's the video, and her tag is JanieB333. 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 Definitely worth follow from her. Next, we have my friend, Penleigh athlete, Bo Brown, who I've mentioned Bo so many times on the podcast. He used to be a collegiate wrestler, I really believe, one of the biggest up-and-coming athletes in USA weightlifting. He went to collegiate nationals when was it? Like last weekend in the USA as an 85 kilo lifter. He snatched 134 kilos to take place, third place in the snatch, and he clean and jerked 170 kilos, which put him in third overall. He did have a chance to take first. He went for 176. He cleaned it. He jerked it. He put his feet together, but he got called for a press out, so he wasn't able to take the gold medal. But I mean, this is his first national meet, and he already did 134, 170, and he's been specifically weightlifting for like 9 months, 8-9 months, which is phenomenal. I mean, he's clearly done strength training before, but he's just a phenomenally efficient athlete and one of the hardest working and most self-motivated athletes I've ever seen. I really do mean that. So definitely worth following Bo at what's his Instagram? Bo_174. BEAU_174. Next we have Sanders Smith, who I have actually shouted out before, but I wanted to give him another shout out. He's you might remember him from some of the old John North vlogs, but he just hit a 140 kilo triple on the jerk, which is a 10 kilo PR, which, that's good. I haven't done that, and I think that is cool, and that is why I'm shouting him out. But really, it's the fact that he's wearing the same pair of virus tights that I bought for myself. In fact, that I got given for my birthday last week. They were my first pair of virus tights. I've never actually owned the tights before. So as soon as I saw that, I just thought, we are one and the same. We have pretty similar numbers, and now we have the same tights. So Sanders, you get a shout out. You can follow him at 13 Smitty, 13SMITTY. Last, an athlete who, is almost not worthy of the people's lifts. Not because he's not good enough, but because he's almost too good. We have Chris Dobbs, who is one of the guys you might have heard myself and Glenn talk about on the Monday show before. Super heavyweight, but not, it can't be really too much over 105, I wouldn't have thought. He just clean and jerked a PR of 190 kilos, and it looked phenomenal. a filthy strong guy. I think he strict pressed like 130, maybe even more recently, despite I don't even think training the strict press. He snatched 155, he fronts, I mean, he back squats. I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably around 280, just an incredibly strong guy, definitely worth a follow. You can find him at Chris with a K, 87, so KRIS 87. Phenomenal lifter, and he's going to go 160, 200 soon, very, very soon. Anyway, guys, that is just about everything. Now, I want to mention one thing quickly. Glenn and I have decided that we want someone to come to the camp May 10th through 20th who is going to come for free, free camp, free accommodation, 2 free meals every day, maybe 3, just depending what everyone does. But who has to come and film every training session, the morning and the PM session, and then create a video that evening that can be uploaded onto my YouTube channel as like some kind of vlog, so that we can vlog the whole training camp. So that's our plan. If you are interested and you love vlogging, you love filming, and I don't know, you have a career, you're trying to kickstart your career in vlogging, please let me know. Just contact me at contact@weightliftinghouse.com or DM me on my Weightlifting House Instagram page, and I'll email you and see what we can do. I've already had, I think, 2 people message me about it, so if you are interested, please let me know, and I'll see what I can do. All right, I think that is everything. My final thing will just be, I mean, you know what it is. If you're in Europe and you want to buy something from Virus, Weightlifting House, that's the code, 10% off. And lastly, the House Barbell, my favorite thing at the moment, 10% off, 10 needle bearings, 210,000 PSI, incredible quality in the steel. In fact, just incredible specs for a bar. I think anyone who knows anything about bars knows that these specs are actually very high. These are top of the market bars for an incredibly reasonable price because, well, like I've said before, I'm trying to prove that you don't have to spend $1,000 plus on a good bar. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, if you're interested, you can find those on weightliftinghouse.com. If not, then get on with your training, and I will catch you all again in a few days for the Sinclair Countdown.